Launching your Beyblade. This is not only the first skill you're going to have to learn, but it's also the most important skill you're going to have to master to become competitive in this hobby. The number one skill expression in Beyblade is your launch technique. This is where you're going to get both your power and your movement pattern, and that's where the key to success is at. If you or your child is new to Beyblade, there's going to be a desire to just pull as hard as you possibly can to get a really fast spinning bee. You need to just calm down a little bit, make sure that your launcher hand stays as stable as possible, and practice slowly improving how hard you can pull without moving that launcher hand. If you're launching your Beyblade wildly without any form of control, you're not going to know how your Beyblade is going to act in the arena, and that's going to reduce the chance that you're going to achieve victory. A strong, skilled launch with intent behind it is going to do way better than just ripping as hard as you can and hoping for success. For types of launchers, you have ripcord launchers and string launchers. Ripcord launchers are the standard. They have your long ripcord with the gear-based system in it that you insert into the launcher. The advantage of ripcord launchers is larger pull potential, as you are not restricted by the length of the string, and you don't have to risk breaking your Beyblade if you pull too hard and hit the end of the string distance. String launchers have advantage in the tightly wound string can have higher spin potential with less actual force given. Just be careful with string launchers to always release the string grip before you get to the end of its full length, so you don't risk breaking your launcher. The first step you need to learn is your grip hold preference. This is how you hold both the launcher as well as either your ripcord or string grip. Each blader has their own preferred way of holding this, but you want to make sure that you have a grip that is allowing you to have stability with the actual launcher itself, as well as a good, strong draw power from your pulling hand. You don't want to pull in a way that gives interference, like pulling towards yourself is going to result in less control over how much rip strength you're going to have, as well as pulling too far into the distance is going to lose you stability. You want to make sure that you're able to keep the launcher completely still while pulling with a great amount of power or low amounts of power. The hardest pull is not always going to be the key to success in this hobby. Play around with a couple of different grip techniques to figure out what is best for you and what feels right. When first starting out with Beyblade, I always recommend learning a stable flat launch technique. Holding your Beyblade above the base of the stadium, holding with a strong grip on the launcher, and pulling smoothly with either your ripcord or string in a straight line, allowing your Beyblade to drop down directly below where you pulled from. Practice this out for a long time. Get it so that every time you launch, you know where your Beyblade's going to land, and it lands directly below where your launcher is. Once you've mastered this skill, you're going to be able to find that you win a lot more matches because your Beyblade lands smoothly and with intent. You're not going to find yourself launching your Beyblade wildly and immediately going into a knockout pocket, losing the match before it even begins. Once you feel comfortable with that launch style, now we're going to get into some more complicated launch techniques. The first technique to talk about is tilt. The tilt degree of your Beyblade when it lands in the stadium is going to change how it moves around. This is going to involve a lot of different factors, but the most important factor is the shape of your tip. Depending on your tip shape will depend on how your Beyblade interacts with the base of the stadium, and certain tips will react differently if they are flat versus if they have a slant to them. Slanted launches are most often used for attack-style Beyblades. That's because attack-style bays have a very flat base. When a flat base lands on a curved surface, that's going to result in only a portion of it actually touching the surface of the stadium. While it's rotating, this is going to put it into a wild circular pattern. This circular pattern will have it whip around the outside of the arena, which is likely not where your opponent's Beyblade is. Most likely, they are sitting in the center if they're a stamina or defense type. So if you're whipping around the outside and they're sitting happily in the center, you're going to lose most of your spin potential before you ever make contact. If you tilt an attack-style Beyblade, now more of the surface area of that flat base is going to be touching more areas along the stadium floor. So now, instead of only a portion of it landing and it going into that tornado-style outward spin, multiple areas are going to touch, and this is going to cause the Beyblade to enter into what is referred to as the flower pattern. This is a constant small rotation that flowers around the outside, constantly moving towards the center. So it'll go out to the outer ring and then move towards the center. This gives consistent, reliable attacks against any Beyblade that's in the center of the arena, and is much less likely to waste any of your attack potential before you've actually made a hit. The trick to tilted launching is understanding how far to tilt the base that you have. And this is going to be a little bit of a learning process for you, as it's very hard to memorize every possible one, and it would be impossible for me to describe every base to you in this video. But understanding and testing different launch angles is going to be important to starting to learn your combo that you've built. The most common failure point with tilted launches is scraping. Scraping is the result of part of your Beyblade that's not intended to touching the bottom of the stadium. If you tilt too far, it's possible that your weight disc, your ratchet, or your layer is going to grind against the stadium floor. This is going to slow down your Beyblade significantly and is not something that you want. You want to make sure that your tilt level ensures that your Beyblade will land and only the base will make contact with the stadium floor, even throughout its movement pattern across the entire arena. This can change based off the curvature of the arena, and is something that again will just take quite a bit of practice as you get used to combos that you build and what tips you're working with. Some bases never want to tilt. As well as having certain weight discs or certain layers, you're never going to want to tilt because the tilt level of those is going to cause a higher risk of scrapage or is going to struggle restabilizing. Tips like needle or edge, with these fine tips, you never want to tilt them because now the fine point is not the center of contact and it's going to have a much harder time standing back up. You're going to want to practice the different launch angles with each of your different drivers or tips to get a feel for how each of them works and how you want to preferred launch each of your different combos. Preferred launch styles will change from combo to combo, even with the same bits. It takes a lot of trial and error, but knowing what you're looking for is what's important. Now, go take all this new knowledge that you just gained and go practice upping your game at Beyblade launching. There's still a lot more to learn, like controlled movement patterns of your launcher, targeted landing locations, side preference, and more. But we'll talk about those skills in future videos. I'm Szasse from Szasse Games, and we'll catch you guys next time.